This is Simone Marie with Spiritual Masters in the Making. And today I would like to talk to you about how to end toxic relationships spiritually. My friends, when we're in a relationship, when we start a relationship, be it romantic or just a friendship or even with family and friends, we have a tendency to gain attachments. And what we find is that we will continue to be drawn in to the toxicity. We may leave the relationship after certain things may occur. And logically, we know that this relationship should end, but we don't end the relationship because we have a cord attached to that person, or that person has a cord attached to us. And what do I mean by cords? What I mean by cords is I'm an energy healer, I'm a Reiki master, and I also am trained in several different other energy modalities. And when I'm doing my spiritual work, one thing I notice, I'll see cords. And those cords, if they're not severed, will keep drawing a person in. Even if the person physically leaves, the person can be drawn back in to that toxic relationship. A lot of people don't know consciously that they have a cord, or even that they are courting someone else. But I am here to tell you, my friends, that you do not have to suffer. You do not have to continue to experience toxic relationships. You do not have to keep going through the cycle of breaking up with a person that you know is no good for you and then going back to them. You do not have to continue in that cycle. I used to wonder before I got into my spiritual work and becoming a spiritual practitioner and spiritual transformational coach. I didn't know why, for the life of me, that people would break up with a person that they did not like, and they would keep going back over and over again to that person. Sometimes it's an abusive situation. Sometimes people are going through domestic violence, and you say, well, why does this person go back to a person that they know is going to hurt them? Why do a person, they may be in a romantic relationship, in the agreement, I know nowadays there's lots of different types of relationships, um, but say the agreement is that they are in a monogamous relationship or supposed to be in a monogamous relationship, but that person continues to violate that. They continue to seek other relationships. They continue to cheat on that person. They continue to lie because they would have to lie to the person in order to continue to cheat. And they do this over and over again. And the person continues to go back. The person will leave for the moment and then they're drawn right back in. I didn't understand that in the past, but in doing and learning my spiritual work and growing spiritually, I can actually see the root of that situation. And what happens is there could be cords. I see cords both ways with many of the people that I work with. I'll see the say that is a male and a female romantic relationship. I'll see the man may have a cord attached to the woman in some kind of way. And then the woman has a cord attached to the man. And sometimes those cords could be layered because another thing I notice is, and you probably have some friends that are like this, they break up with the person. They break up with the person, but they're still having sex with the person. They're still having sexual relationships with that person. And no matter how toxic that person may be, they still are having the sexual relations. And what I notice is sometimes people are courted in more than one way to a person. So that person may have released that person. Um, they may have released them, physically, not being in a relationship with them. Not saying that they are they're involved. They are romantically involved, but like they say on the down low, they're continuing to have an intimate relationship together. And the reason for that, and I saw that, is because that person has them courted, or they are courted to that person, or both of them are courted in that way. And so it is very important to sever those cords because they can be very damaging to our life. Many people are courted. I know a situation with, a very close friend that for years have been back and forth with this person. They're not with the person physically. They're not physically in a relationship anymore with this person, but they continue to have sex with the person. They continue to find ways of being around the person romantically. And they never let the person go. And so what happens is when they want to move forward, they're unable to move forward in any way because when we're courted energetically to someone else, it's hard for someone, a new person, to come in. And a lot of times they become very lonely. They end up being alone because they never make room for the next person to come in. And in an abusive, a very toxic relationship, it is very dangerous because if a person is going through physical abuse, and when they go back to that person, they know that they will be physically assaulted. They don't know if or when their life can be taken. And so a lot of times they're not even sure when you speak to those people, they're not even sure why they're going back. If you can relate to this, if this is something, a behavior or behaviors that you're doing, I have the answer for you. And I have strategies for helping you to sever those cords, my friends. First of all, I know in my work, I have severed many cords. And usually, before I sever a cord, I have a consultation with that person because sometimes people do not want their cords severed. sometimes people do not want the perpetual cycle of abuse to stop. And that may be on a subconscious level. And in my work, I do spiritual therapy. The modality that I have is very powerful. It's called neural intuitive therapy. And first, prior to severing the cord, sometimes we will have to do some work in releasing the situation or the person in the subconscious mind or the emotional center. So, prior to dealing with the spiritual, sometimes we have to deal with the emotional. And so, in dealing with the emotional, after that, sometimes people are ready to sever that cord because other things can be going on psychologically, emotionally. They have emotional attachment. That's another type of attachment we'll talk about in another video. But prior to severing that cord, many times I've had to help people to detach emotionally from that person. And so after the emotional detachment, if that is needed, I go along and energetically sever the cord. And it's so powerful because I have a client that we had the discussion, we had the consultation. She was in a very toxic relationship. He was very emotionally and verbally abusive. And he was very toxic. He did a lot of things to diminish her her self-esteem. He did a lot of things that went against the relationship and the integrity of the relationship. And he also caused her to compromise herself, compromise her beliefs and her values. And it was just a very toxic relationship. But she told me, I could see it because part of my work, I do an intuitive assessment prior to going in and doing some of the techniques for um, removing blocks and helping people to be free of some of the challenges that they are going through. And so she said, I am going to go back. I just don't know when. And I had to explain to her about the cords. And so I explained to her about the cords and I asked her, I said, do you really want to do this? And she told me that she did. And so when we did that, when we severed the cords both on her end and his end, the relationship was that was no more. There was no more attachment. At that point, at the point of the consultation, she had been telling me that he was seeking her back, continually seeking her back. But after we severed the cords, not only was he not seeking her anymore to come back, he had moved on to a new relationship. He had actually moved on to not only a new relationship, but a serious relationship. And when we're doing cord cutting, energetic cord cutting, and severing of cords, you have to realize that when it's done, it is totally done, my friends. Now, I would like to offer if anyone is interested in severing a cord, you may have been dealing in a relationship I'm talking about romantic relationships primarily today, but it may be a friendship. The person is totally toxic. You may be dealing with a person that is causing distress in your life, and you can be courted that way. We can be courted to jobs, and we can also be courted um, to animals. Um, we can be courted to almost anything, my friends. But it is very important that we sever those cords that are not healthy. If we're courted to a person and it is not an unhealthy relationship, it is beneficial, and you're beneficial to that person, that's a whole nother story. But here we're talking about toxic relationships. And like I said, I am a spiritual therapist, and I'm also a spiritual transformation coach. Um, Please visit me on my website, which is marklakshmi.com. That is the online house of consciousness. We do distance healing, which my distance healing is just as powerful as if you're right there. Had great results with the distance healing, because when you're dealing with energy and you're dealing with the spirit, there is no time or space. So I would like to offer you the opportunity to sever any cords that you have that are toxic. I would like to offer you the opportunity to be free and be able to move up in life and be able to elevate. So, again, check out my website. Get in contact with me. I am taking clients right now so that those cords are severed and you are able to elevate. When we're attached and we're bogged down with toxicity, we're not able to elevate. And that hinders our growth, my friends. So again, the website is marklakshmi.com, markluxmi.com. And please get in contact with me so that we can begin your work and your elevation, so that we can begin the process of bringing healthy relationships into your life. If it is a romantic relationship that you are seeking, please contact me, because we will identify where the problem is. And if you're courted, you can relate to the things that I'm saying to this video. Once we sever that cord, that opens the door for a healthier relationship come in. And that's another point. In closing, I would like to just say one more point that I forgot to tell you about with the cords. A lot of times when you're dealing with cords, some people may leave the relationship physically, but it's still corded to that person energetically. This has actually happened in my life. And you think, oh, that person is done. That person is done. But you're on the dating scene, and that same person keeps showing up in a different I guess you would say, costume, a different presentation, a different package. They may look different, but have the same toxic characteristics. And like I said, also in friendships and other types of relationships, these things can happen. And a lot of that is still that we have not severed the cord to the toxic relationship that we've come out of or thought that we came out of, when that person either has you still corded or they are still corded to you. A lot of times when that happens, that person is not corded. They don't have a cord to that person, that toxic person, but that person still has an energetic cord to them. And so we have to sever those cords energetically. We have to, and energetically, you could say energetically or spiritually, we have to do the work to release that person and make sure there is no cords so that we are not drawing in that same toxic energy, my friends. Again, meet me on my website, markluxury.com, MarkLuximi, so that I am able to help you. It is my passion to be able to help you and to be able to help people to advance and live the lives that they desire to the fullest extent. Please like, share, and subscribe, my friends, to this video. Thank you, and Ashe, so let it be, and Namaste. May the divine light in me bow to the divine light in you, my friend.